I've always been a believer, and I have some crazy experiences. So I want to give others a chance to share theirs. So that's why I created Live Hangout and Interview. Interviewing some of the biggest names such as Brandon Crody, lead investigator of Paranormal in the Funhouse. From A&E's hit show Ghost Hunters, Rochelle Stratton. Pet Medium Paranormal author Rob Guttrell. And many, many more. Today, our special guest is Brett Carstens, Haunted Medium. We have a lot of questions for him, or what the answers are for the questions, and get to know him a little bit more and see if he'd be interested in coming back with us. So that's who we're interviewing today, and we will see you guys right over there when we get with him. How are you today, Brett?
Hey, I'm doing all right. It's a
Perfect.
little crazy out there, but I'm doing okay.
Tell me about it. We got a bunch of snow here in Minnesota, so if you guys are not in Minnesota, I recommend you not to come to Minnesota. Other than the snow, it's a pretty good state, so I can't lie about that part.
Yeah.
I wrote down some questions. I went through some of your social media. I watched some of your stuff and looked at your articles and, just wrote down some things that I'm curious about. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to ask you the questions.
Yeah, hit it.
Perfect. All right. So the reason for this interview is to get a little bit more information about, things about your past with the paranormal world and your current stuff and your studies and things like that. So my first question is, I was reading an article on your website that said when you were little, your parents only picked haunted houses to live in. Why is that?
Yeah, that was a fluke. I'm a Navy kid, so we moved around all over the place, and for some reason, we always ended up finding haunted houses. Or the more I think about it, it might be that some of them were haunted, but I might have been drawing ghosts to me. It might be more that people are haunted more than locations. So I don't know. But we did live in some crazy, strange places. There was one place that was like, we didn't know it before we moved in, but it was actually working as a brothel. And I mean, this is like in the like most boring neighborhood. All the houses look the same. Everybody's got like, this pastel stucco on their houses and everything. And we moved in there, and the neighbors came over and they're like, "Oh, thank you for moving in. We're so grateful, because we've had like all these strange people come in, all night and stuff, and they're basically running a prostitution ring out of this place." And so I think that ended up drawing all sorts of strange spirits and activity in itself just to this location. And then I think people that are psychic and then also even just interested in the paranormal end up drawing spirit attention to us. We end up drawing these things to us and end up having more experiences. So that's kind of how that worked. And I wouldn't have traded any of that for not having haunted places to live in.
Because now look at you. I mean, I'm sure it's very exciting that you can, just because like there's sometimes where I can drive by a cemetery or something and, voices in my head constantly, and it's just crazy, and I'm okay with it. People think I'm crazy, but it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, I mean, really, my story of like being a psychic as a kid and not really knowing what's going on and stuff like that, I think that's pretty typical. And I think a lot of us especially, I mean, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, that's who you are also. You've probably had these experiences all your life and stuff. So it's funny you talking about driving past a cemetery and hearing voices in your head or
Yeah.
getting impressions and stuff. I mean, it's like, I think that's, I don't think it's common, but I think it's more common than we're
Right.
aware,
Right.
So
And there's sometimes where our very first investigation came from me driving past the cemetery and a spirit telling me that she needed help. Well, I didn't really think much about it, but we done the investigation and it led to us doing a part two, finding a bunch of answers about this person's past and more people who were involved with her and everything. So it wasn't just in my head, it was a real true thing. I brought my whole team and we just found a bunch of information just by me driving by and hearing that voice in my head.
that's really cool. So do you, I mean, in this case, it sounds like um, you got drawn to it and you had these impressions and everything in it. I mean, that basically told you who you were dealing with, and then you did the research, and lo and behold,
Right.
it is this thing, and it's validated and everything.
And it's actually
Instead
very
of
funny.
like researching something and then going to look for it,
Right.
like, oh, there's this girl Sally at on the Queen Mary, right? This
Right.
famous entity, and you go, and it's like a lot of people go and they expect it to be Sally, and so they're all of their questioning and everything is directed on, oh, this is Sally we're talking to.
Right.
Oh, tell me about this or that, and it's like, it might not be Sally, and Sally's probably already gone. She's
Right.
probably not around anymore. And somebody else is like, oh yeah, you want to meet Sally? Okay, fine. You know, if you just want to talk to Sally, I can be Sally for you.
Yeah. And
So
it's really funny because before the investigation even happened, only thing I knew that it was a female. It was a female that we were dealing with. And probably the day before or the same day before the investigation, Sarah popped into somebody's head. The name Sarah. You know, our team had done a bunch of research and they found a Sarah spelled the same way. We go over
mhm.
there, we find the grave. I took my medium, and everything led to that girl. Her name was Sarah. I was hearing a girl. They researched a Sarah, and everything on our investigation led to Sarah. So it was pretty
That's cool.
interesting.
That's super helpful. And I mean, it feels really good to actually get the validation, because otherwise, otherwise you just feel like a crazy person driving past a cemetery with voices in your head.
Right. And
So
when I tell people about it, they think I'm nuts, but it's a real thing. So we have proof right on our YouTube channel. So
yeah, it's one of those things where you don't necessarily want to just out yourself as hearing voices or seeing things
right.
to everybody, because everybody won't get it. But
And
yeah,
there's a process in the paranormal. You can't just predict something. If you hear something, you need to research that to debunk whether it's real or not. So I heard the voice. It led to a research party and everything like that. Done the investigation. Our conclusion, everything was pieced together exactly the way we needed it to. So
yeah, that sounds good.
yeah.
The way I tend to do it is, I will try to avoid any information at all. Like, I'll try to avoid learning anything about it until, it's like case closed.
Right.
Because the more I know about it, the more I'm going to probably, like, that'll interfere with my impressions and stuff, because
Right.
it's hard to tell where it's imagination or me making it up versus, um, something that is genuinely spirit or psychic impression coming from outside of my own my own context, I
Exactly.
guess.
Exactly.
So
That's amazing. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the second question because I could talk about this all day. This is
oh, for sure.
an interesting topic. So,
Yeah.
on your website, it says that you help stuck spirits move on. Can you talk about how your able to help them move on to the next life?
Yeah, you know what? It's it's complicated. um, when I started out and I figured out that I could help spirits move on, it was basically making or working with them to create like white light portals for them to go through. And like early on, I was working with a spirit, and they were kind of stuck in a place, and this person was stuck because they were just emotionally stuck. The same way a living person could be stuck. You know,
Right.
you've met people that are so depressed or whatever. It's hard for them to get out of bed. It's hard for them to acknowledge that there's anything going on outside of their own little tiny world. And I
Right.
mean, it's terribly sad, and it's upsetting to see somebody, you know, just kind of in this state of mind, in this state of living. And so spirits are kind of the same way. And you think about somebody who has, you know, suddenly their whole family is killed, or something terribly traumatic or violent happens. They might be in this emotional state. And let's say they die that way. And, you know, maybe they're just so inwardly focused or so like consumed by whatever these emotions are that they're unable to move on. They're unable to notice that there's the light or a way to cross over to heaven. And or you know, they aren't listening to angels that are there, or even family members that show up to try to escort them or try to kind of move them on. And so um I think that I'm in some sort of place where spirits can look at me, and maybe it's that I'm a normal dude like you or I. You know, we've got facial hair, we're just kind of chilling in t-shirts and stuff,
Right.
and we aren't showing up like, oh, you know, I'm the man, I'm going to,
Exactly.
you know, like we aren't presenting as something else. And so we go in and they feel like they can actually approach us and talk to us
Right.
things. Or maybe, you know, I can approach them and say, okay, what's going on here? And it kind of works out to be a kind of like counseling. And so, like, going back to the spirit was at a he was at a restaurant, and he worked in the back of a restaurant. And I guess his whole family was killed in a car accident.
Oh no.
And he was, I don't know what happened to him, but he was so distraught and so upset about this that he was kind of just angry and sad. And he was working at this restaurant, and he was upset at people not putting things where they belonged, you know, not doing it his way, you know, all these living people. And he's a spirit there. And so he would basically throw dishes and
Oh.
do all sorts of stuff. And so I tuned in. I was able to connect to him, talk to him, and he was just angry about his family and upset and everything. And I was overtaken with his grief, and you know, just kind of like uh, you know, trying to cope with what I was feeling, that I think was his emotional state. And I mean, I was crying and everything, and my wife was there with me, and you know, she just takes me and she hugs me,
Yeah.
and I'm just bawling. I mean, I was just crying so hard. And then all of a sudden I saw a white light open up, and it was like the white light in the tunnel, the portal um, into heaven. And it was like this big white light tunnel. And like generations of his family were like lining the sides of
Wow.
the tunnel. And at that point, like I'm feeling this love, like this ecstasy pouring out of this place.
Sure.
So immediately I start like laughing, and I'm still crying, but now I'm laughing because I'm overwhelmed with joy. And I'm watching this guy like over his shoulder, watching him kind of enter the light, enter this tunnel. and like generations of family are right there to welcome him in. And it was like,
That's beautiful.
yeah, I mean, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So I get it with people who are like have a near death experience and go
Sure.
over and
Yeah.
have to come back. I get it. I mean, as much as I can.
Yeah.
And this was just feeling this from like standing way outside watching some dude go into the light,
Yeah.
and then it closed up, or I lost focus or whatever. But I mean, I was I was gone for like the whole day,
Wow.
like unable to really do much. I mean, like hours later, I'd be sitting there and I'd start to cry, just in joy and everything. I mean, it
Yeah.
was like ugly crying, not like a little bit of tears.
Yeah.
But
Like
I mean, it was,
historically crying. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So
It would be awesome to see, honestly.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it that changed my life. And so I think I started working with spirits and kind of figured out, because other spirits would come to me at like looking for help.
Yeah.
And I figured out, okay, well, I can basically envision a white light door opening right there. And I think spirits would cross over. And we did that, and I would work and try to help spirits cross over. And mostly it was just, instead of actually having to, create a door, it was more about talking to spirits and assuring them that they could cross over.
Yeah.
And um, when I'm saying rescuing spirits and all this stuff, I feel like it's more giving them the opportunity to like go to the gates of heaven, or however you want to think of it. I don't
Yeah.
feel like it's like, oh yeah, you talk to me and then you go to heaven.
Mhm.
I think it's like you talk to me and then you are able to approach going to going to heaven.
Right.
Or you know i'm just I'm just trying to hook you up with some angels here and get you get you
Right.
on the path, or make sure it's okay. And so like that's kind of how that happened. And as I've gone on with it, I feel like I'm involved with I'm involved personally with the process less and less. And my team has developed around me, my team of spirit guides and angels and folks like that. They will show up when an entity or a spirit comes in and needs help. They show up and basically they take care of it. And sometimes I know what's going on, and sometimes I find out later. It's like, oh, they've been helping spirits move up.
Right.
And I've heard them talk about heaven and stuff, and they talk about it as going up. So yeah, there is something to up with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's an amazing story. Honestly, that would be beautiful to see.
yeah, I mean, it's it's a trip, and it's still mind boggling. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm in it. I've seen it. I've got the validation and everything, and it still blows my mind.
Would you
So
say that you've helped a large number of spirits cross over?
I think so. I think I mean, I don't I wouldn't even know what to say about like what a large number would be, but um I know for a fact more than, I don't know, more than a dozen. I'm guessing that my team has helped hundreds,
Wow.
just because and this is just based on who I've met or who I've heard
Sure.
on location in places, because I film it, I do videos, all that stuff for the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And so like it's never just like one spirit hanging out there. It's like, maybe a dozen, or I don't know, possibly more.
Right.
So I'm assuming that my team is working and doing all sorts of stuff behind the scenes where they've moved them on.
That is
Um, you
amazing.
know, the dozen or whatever that I'm saying, that's that's including the guy at the restaurant or a little girl at a cemetery, and these defined moments that I've probably written in my journal,
Sure.
but they're ones that are yeah.
That's amazing.
Cool.
Honestly, perfect. Um, your site also says you ride your motorcycle to find paranormal action. Why your motorcycle?
You know what? I used to, I mean, I used to drive around and stuff, and I started riding a motorcycle,
Mhm.
and I love it. I'm an introvert. I love being alone. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's my way of, that's what my way of doing things. And so I started riding motorcycles, when I was teaching. Or I mean, I rode motorcycles off and on a little bit, but when I was teaching, I started riding motorcycles, and doing long rides during summer vacation. And my wife was like, "Yeah, go for it, do it," because um, I'm a, I'm more pleasant when I'm out being able to ride and do my thing and
Exactly.
explore and live my life. And you know, I'm a good guy. My wife can trust me. I can trust my wife.
Sure.
You know, so she lets me do that, and it makes me a better person.
Yeah.
And so I started doing these rides, and I would go out for 2 weeks or even like a month or something. And the furthest I rode was up to the Arctic Circle. And
Wow.
it's like it's a glorified dirt bike. So
Oh
I
yeah.
get to do that. And
Riding
I
up
love it.
the trail, huh?
Yeah, I love it. And so and I can go off road, and I've taken like mountain passes and all this stuff, on trails. And I look back at it, and it's like, oh, that was stupid, Brett. That was a bad idea, to go out and risk it, going riding 40 miles through wilderness all by
Right.
myself in a foreign country, or well, Canada. But
Yeah. Yeah.
still, it's like I'm pretty far from home.
Mhm.
I live in Los Angeles, so
Okay.
that's way up there.
Well,
Uh,
I'm a little jealous about that part.
Yeah, I think everybody should be. Everybody needs to get out there and try to do something like that.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. But I started doing that, and I would just ride out and go have these awesome times.
Sure.
And wherever I go, I'm drawing attention of spirits and stuff. And so, I don't have to seek out, the I don't have to go to what is it, the what's it called? The Shining Hotel. I don't have to go there
Right.
to get activity. The Motel 6 spirits are going to show up there.
Yeah.
Um, Places are really haunted. People have no idea.
Oh
There's
no.
activity all over the place. Um, so anyway, yeah, I had done some work with producers and stuff like that, and we filmed quite a few pilots and stuff like that, and nothing ever seems to come from it. It ends up being stuck in post or editing or whatever forever. And so I was just like, you know what, like I've got a background in video and audio and all this stuff too, so like maybe I'll just take cameras with me and see what happens.
Sure.
I'll try to film part of a ride, and we'll just see. And I did it, and I think it was a blast, and I think it came out really good. It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Is there
And so
anywhere
that was the first season.
is there anywhere that our viewers can check this out?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, under Haunted Medium. My name's Brett Carstens. You can also search that way and find me. And I did season 1. I filmed that in 2018, and that's complete and that's up.
Awesome.
And I've got season 2 that I filmed in 2019, and I'm busy editing that, but I've started posting episodes of that. And I think it's nuts, because I think the other side has really directed a lot of it. I think they kind of nudge me and push me and pull me to different locations,
Right.
and they also help me avoid getting in trouble. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out on the road and I'm riding a motorcycle, and that's a more risky kind of activity a lot of times anyway. And I try to try to stay safe. But man, every once in a while I'll start getting warnings, or my guides will be telling me in my helmet, like, okay, dude, slow down. or pull over. This would be a
Yeah.
good place to pull over or turn around or whatever. And so they kind of direct me. And it's funny because
Amazing.
I've seen them do the whole like, oh, hey, pull over. And so I pull over and they're like, yeah, just chill here for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And, it's like some other motorcycle that just happens to be on the road doing their thing. We're kind of leapfrogging each other, uh, you know, riding pretty fast. And, I mean, it's beautiful. I'm always safe, but
Oh yeah.
you can end up going a little too
Oh
fast. And
man.
so,
I've
I
been
I pull over and listening to my guides, and then they're like, okay, it's time to move.
there.
So
Hmm.
I hop on and I go right around the next corner. There's there's that motorcycle, with a cop car sitting behind it. He's getting
Wow.
his ticket, and it's like, all right, thanks guys. And that's one that is obvious that I know what's going on. How often does the other side intercede and keep us safe?
That is
I have
that
no
is
idea.
that is amazing. They help you from getting in trouble. That's awesome.
Oh, and you know what else this is a trip too. I didn't realize this was happening until editing this last season. Um, I'm trying to get set audio of me riding, because I do the B-roll where it's like me on my motorcycle and stuff. And, the action cameras usually have crappy audio from the ride. And
Right.
so, I got my lav mic on, and, I'm riding from, this place to the motel or something like that. And it's funny because it's like I'll hear EVPs while I'm riding. EVPs are like, you know, yep, you got to turn left or something like that, or
Wow.
watch this car, or they'll be talking to each other. And I mean, this isn't as frequent as the other stuff, like when I'm on site and actually recording,
Right.
but it's amazing. It's like how much action is going on behind the scenes at all times.
Right.
You
Wow.
know.
It's amazing. I love that story. I saw that and I had to ask you about it because I thought it was cool. So,
Oh, thanks. It's so
oh,
much fun.
oh, I wish I knew how to ride a motorcycle. I'd give it a try.
Well, just get out there in the dirt. If you're, I mean, this is my big like, okay, if you're gonna ride, yeah, start out riding in the dirt. Get a dirt bike, learn how to do that. Stay off the streets, because, um, you know, the the big danger is getting hit by a car,
Sure.
or, losing it on roads or whatever. But if you can stay off road, do trails and stuff, it's
Yeah.
so much fun. It's like,
To
I
try.
watched the movie Avatar when that came out, and I was just like, oh, riding those dragons, that's what it feels like to ride a motorcycle,
Wow.
doing, getting out there. So,
Sounds amazing.
yep, selling
Perfect.
it.
All right. My next question is, what's the longest trip you've taken in search of paranormal activity?
Um, well, I'm always searching. Like I'm always open to the paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, you name it, right? Anything that's a little out there, I'm interested in
Exactly.
checking it out. So I'm never so well, that's not true. I'm not like really having to go out and seek it. I'm always willing to stop at a place, or like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I happen to be a day's ride from, this cool paranormal spot or something. And so, I make that apart. But like my rides, usually I'm out for 3 to 4 weeks or so. And I think, about 4 weeks, maybe a little bit more than 4 weeks, is as long as I've been out. And, it's just riding all over the West. When I get to a place where it feels, where I'm uncomfortable, or it's like, oh, it's too cold, or it's boring because the roads are all flat or something like that, I'll just change direction and end up
Okay.
going somewhere else. So that's kind of how the trips go. They're just kind of, I decide on the fly, and
Like,
that's another reason to do it all by myself.
yeah.
If you go solo on these trips, um, you can make all of the decisions. If you got to go to the bathroom, you figure out where you want to stop. If you
Right.
want to have a smoke break, that's your choice. I don't smoke, but it's like when riding with other people, there are people that need to have a smoke every 20 minutes or something. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, okay, dude, I just want to ride and I want to go and see what I want to see, or,
Exactly.
you know, so.
Exactly. Perfect. All right. So your services that you offer, do you offer services for people like paid services, or what all do you do for other people?
Well, I realized that what I was doing, there's a need for it, and I'm good at it. So let's go ahead and pursue that.
Hmm.
One of the things that I think I do really well that's different than how other mediums work is like the cleansing and clearing stuff. And that is like removing attachments or looking around and removing or moving on entities or spirits. I'll notice these things, or even emotional baggage or other kinds of baggage that are like in our auras or in our energetic fields. So I can remove that stuff, and then I can do regular readings. I'm not the guy to call if you're looking to see if you should get back together with your ex.
Right.
That's my like go-to example.
Yeah.
Like I just don't care. And I mean, there's so many other things, and no, you shouldn't get back together with your ex. Like just I mean, just in general. Um, but I can, I just look and I'll see what's there. And it's just impressions coming in. It's not like I can um, well, it's not like I go out and I search for things. I can't just get the answers people want. Um, I'll be like, okay, you guys tell me about this. And sometimes the guides or the spirits or whoever's around is going to tell me exactly about that. And they're going to be like, yeah, here's what's going on with your work. That's a that's a big deal.
Right.
I'm seeing a yellow construction hat. So what's going on there? Oh, and I'm seeing road work, and I'm seeing that it's like, oh, you're holding a flag and you're actually holding the stop sign for, controlling traffic and stuff. And it's like, okay, that's something that's coming in. And so that might be what you need to hear, or you might be looking for totally different answers, but I can only give my impressions of what's coming in. Or it might be that somebody's coming in and they're actually telling you things. Grandma is actually telling you quote for quote,
Yeah.
this thing. And so that's kind of how that works. And so yeah, there's the cleansing and clearing. There are regular readings, and like the spirit rescue stuff that kind of goes with cleansing and clearing. And then there's coaching. Like I just have experience with this stuff, and I kind of take it more as a wide open paranormal
Yeah.
approach,
Yeah.
because I think Bigfoot, I think UFOs, um, spirits, angels, demons, all of these things. I mean, they're dimensional. They're on the other side. Um, you know, they're not physical as much, but I do see them crossing over. I've seen a being that was physical, and then they changed it and they were on another dimension. Like I've seen that kind of thing, so I know that is real. And so I've just got a different view or different angle or approach with this stuff.
Sure.
But yeah,
Perfect.
totally willing to help people out if they want to email me or get in touch.
And I'll put all his contact information in the description of this episode, and you can find him on his website, YouTube, and everything as such. So
Hey, cool.
if you do need help, I'll put all his contact information, all his video links, platforms, everything of the such. So we have a few more questions for you, and then
Yeah.
we'll let you get back to your day. Um, on your website, it says something about a hitchhiking spirit.
Hitchhiking spirits, attachments. That's what I'd what I'd consider it. um, yeah, I think we often do get spirits who are attracted to us for one reason or another. Attachments will a lot of times jump on because we have a certain kind of energy going on. It might be that we are involved in addictive kinds of behaviors, and they can kind of get a fix through us. So if we are into, if we're big drinkers, and we're always going to the bar and stuff like that, we may end up drawing the attention of a spirit or a ghost like who has a alcohol problem.
Hmm.
And so they're drawn to us so they can kind of get their fix vicariously through us.
Right.
And, if we like fighting, they might be like, hanging on and want to be around us and be involved in fighting. And so
Sure.
when you have somebody who has these kind of addictive behaviors, they might be somebody who is like egging you on, like kick his ass,
Yeah.
sitting there right on your shoulder, trying to get you to do this stuff because they can feel the emotion, they can be a part of it. And mostly, I think this is a ghost kind of behavior. I think ghosts are spirits who have not crossed over into heaven. Once you've crossed over, you're a spirit in heaven and you're doing whatever your heaven stuff is. And I think that's a lot of like self work and working on, helping everybody level up so we can become better spirits and all that stuff. But when they're over there, they can come visit still. I think they're limited in how much they can visit because they've got their stuff to do and they don't want to interfere with our stuff. But yeah, so there's the difference between spirits and ghosts. But yeah, I think a lot of attachments are ghosts or other kinds of entities looking for these feelings that they can get through us.
Yeah.
Or they might be like trying to siphon off some of our energy. If we go into chakras and your aura and stuff, I mean, there is an energy that's running through us. That's I don't know, a psychic or spiritual kind of energy. And I think that they will kind of siphon it through us. I don't know if it's our energy or like the universe's energy and we're just using it, but we might be a more easily tapped source than just going straight to the universe.
Right.
I don't know. All of this stuff is wild, and it's just trying to figure it out through our own experiences. So
Sure.
you know
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that was perfect. Thank you for the explanation.
yeah.
So I was also reading on your website about a book called How to Live with a Psychic that your wife had wrote. And
Yeah.
I was wondering if you and your wife would be willing to come back with us for another episode to talk more about that book.
uh yeah, probably. I have to see what she's up to, but yeah, that would be fun.
Could you give us a little explanation about what it's about?
You know what? When I was a kid, I was psychic. I was a medium. I had spirits coming to me all the time, and I didn't know what was happening. Um, and I mean, even in high school, I would do readings using playing cards and stuff like that, and I would know things and stuff like that. But I never associated it with being psychic. It was just something I did. I don't know if it was like not labeling it or whatever, but that was me as a kid. And then as I became an adult, it became more obvious. I have always been interested in and pursuing the paranormal, but I didn't realize it until working with different groups and stuff like that. And then, you know, it was like, oh, yeah, I am psychic. I'm a medium because I'm able to do everything that the medium does when
Yeah.
they're visiting these groups, and easily, like no problem. And so, about 2012, we had a major incident happen with working with a group, a paranormal group. Somebody was having problems with um, demons and stuff like that, and I thought demons. I was like, yeah, it's like allegory. This is just something, this is just part of the story. This is an antagonist to, basically, you know, I don't know, explain things away. And I didn't believe it. I thought we were working with another psychic also at the time, and they were like, "Oh, it's demons," and I'm rolling my eyes. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, spirits. I think most demons are spirits who were just mean, nasty people when they were alive, and now they're dead, and they're still mean and nasty, and they're still causing problems.
Right.
And they might even present themselves in a different way. They might be a little distorted, even, as ghosts. And so, demons, okay, yeah, whatever. But anyway, we had this experience. I was really put in a spot where I had to deal with demons, and it was like, both of us, my wife and I, were both like, oh my God, this is like, these are demons. And I mean, she said it like before I did. So it was like this dual validation thing. And we had physical things happen, all this stuff. And I asked my spirit guides, like, what do I do? And they told me, oh, deal with it this way and all this stuff. And angels showed up. And I was just like, mind paradigm totally blown. There are demons, they exist, like, totally different. My world is totally shook. It's totally different now. Demons exist and angels exist, and all of this stuff happened. And I was immediately, like, overnight, my abilities were like blown up 10 times or something. I was super sensitive. We'd go in Walmart and there'd be like, oh, the old woman that used to work at Walmart that died, senior citizen lady in the, in the clothes. And she'd start to talk to me. And it's like, I mean, I was picking up on spirits everywhere I went. I could, I knew when I saw, I saw beings that weren't human. All of this stuff happened really kind of overnight, and it drew the attention of a lot of folks on the other side, a lot of different kinds of entities. And so all of this stuff happened kind of at once. And, this low key or low level abilities was exceptional, like suddenly. And so she kind of had to deal with it and deal with me having interactions with all sorts of beings, way beyond the paradigm that we had, a week earlier, you know. So, like, she had to deal with it, and she's got a background in therapy, and she's a really good writer. And so she just really laid it out. And we've met a lot of other people who are involved with the paranormal or have had their abilities suddenly thrust upon them,
Yeah.
or whatever. And people break up. That marriages are over when one person suddenly can tell about all of these spirits in their house or something. They're starting to have paranormal activity, and if both people aren't prepared for it, that can dissolve your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That can cause major problems in your household. And so it's kind of like everybody's got to be on the same page. And how do you do that? How do you
Right.
deal with somebody who is suddenly hearing voices or seeing things? And so it's a really good book for whether you've just opened up or you've got a loved one that has just opened up. So it's a
Well,
pretty
I'm
good
gonna
book.
have to I'm gonna have to purchase that book and give it a try. So Sounds interesting. But if you want to speak to her and see if she'd be interested in coming to talk about it, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Perfect.
So,
Well, we are running a little short on time here, so do you have any questions for us?
yeah, you guys are a paranormal team. How are you guys doing it with COVID stuff right now?
You know, that's the whole thing. Our season one is starting this year. There's a reason why I've done that because so much stuff was shut down and it was hard to get into places, you know. And I'll still email places today about getting an investigation with them, and they're still shut down because of COVID. So 2020 was super bad with the COVID, so I just booked everything for this year. So
Yeah, that sounds
hopefully
good.
it'll be a lot better this year for us.
Yeah, yeah. That, I mean, it's kind of me asking this question is kind of like, yeah, I mean, we're all dying to get back out there.
Exactly.
Dying might not be the right word to use as a paranormal investigator. Um, yeah, I mean, we're all ready to get back out there, and
Hmm.
I think the only places I've been able to check out like lately have been um, just places that are like wide open, and it's just daytime,
Yeah.
daytime mainly, um, you know, abandoned places, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah, not a whole lot happening this year.
No, not at all.
And it might be a little while before we're able to get out safely and do
Right.
it this year too.
Well, if we do get out, there's only one thing: be safe and do what you got to do by social distancing or whatever you got to do. So
Yeah, for sure.
perfect. All right. Well, that is all that I have, and if that's all you have for me, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this interview up.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank Brett for coming to join us today and everyone who was involved of live hangout and interview. So thank you, Brett. We'd love to have you come back again if possible.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man. This
Awesome.
has been fun. You've got good fun questions too.
I know I have more, but I'm on a time frame here. So.
Yeah, I
All right.
gotcha.
Well, it was good talking with Brett, and it was good seeing you guys. So you have a good day, and we'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
Thank you. You too.
This program is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is